What's up, guys? Welcome back. All right, so we are getting straight into our Inkosi Super Cup, and of course, we're moving up into yet another week. This, of course, being the week 3. So as you can see, the game has already started. It's already underway, and they've got a few teams already battling it out on this map. You see the team there from Exist already putting some shots in. We've got 14 teams remaining, and Batchy, man, we've seen quite a bit of action so far.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot that's happened. So the flight path went from west coast to east coast. The first zone, which this is right here, dropping all the way to the south, right on top of this military island. We've seen some fighting all across the borders. The teams now making their way down. You could see pretty much two groups, funneling around towards those bridges. One towards the east, one towards the west. So there's two big groups of teams sitting there right now. Two teams originally landed on the island. Now there are, of course, 3 teams there making their way in. Of course, the Exiles moving down that bridge and potentially setting up a little bit of a camp. So a lot of stuff has happened right here. And we're definitely in that sort of point at the moment where we're going to start seeing a couple more fights happening now as the teams try and make their way in and get closer in towards the zone.
Yeah, and we're seeing quite a few teams right there just on that northwestern side of the zone there. You can see everyone moving up. The Anarchy Angels, we've got the players, of course, also there, that being the team there from, Squad Lord Superior right there next to them. And then also we've got another team there, and then, of course, being the players from Esports. So 3 teams right in that area. Then, of course, we got yet another team now moving up, that being the players from the African Renegades. So we've got 4 teams, in fact, just battling it out. You can see some of the players here from that Lord team right over here now, just trying to get those raises in. The shots flying all over, just coming in one after the other. Now the question comes in, will they be able to survive this as they are getting caught in a fairly tricky situation? What do you think, Patrick?
I mean, yeah, so right now we've got a couple of teams just hovering around. Most of them are heading towards, the zone, the sort of bridge area, trying to just make their way in a bit closer. But because there's so many teams just hovering around this area, it's difficult to rotate without, finding an opening. So at the moment, the teams are just sort of checking out what's going on in the terrain around them. And, also, hello, camera. But yeah, right now, so you can see the Angels taking a bit of a hit there. Tigers going down. Lord just putting the hits in. But they might just get caught by this blue zone here if they're not careful. Going to be taking a little bit of damage here. We've seen a couple of teams go down to this one. And at the moment, a couple of teams already making their way into the bridge could potentially just make that a really, really clustered area and a spot that could potentially have a lot of fighting going on.
Yeah, well, you can see the players here from Lord now just trying to see if they can maybe potentially spot the players there from the African Renegades as they're now trying to make their move up. So both teams now having to rotate up in towards zone and just a little bit over towards the eastern side. We are seeing the players there, of course, now from the that team, the one you can say the name. Yes, that one. And the players there from the VG God Squad also now about to engage just a little bit off to the side from where we are now. And you can also see the players there from LXG now in the kill feed, putting a few shots in. That, of course, happening all the way over at that eastern bridge. So there's, yet again, quite a bit of potential in this match. And there we go. LXG taking down the players there from Iconics, as you can just see in the kill feed. So a quick lobby exit there for them. We are now left with our 13 teams. And we're just waiting to see where these teams are going to rotate to. We're also seeing a few teams slowly but surely moving up. LXG, of course, the team that you can see on the screen. And then we've got the players there from the Moss Crew Fatal they've mobilized themselves just over towards that western side from what you can see on the map. So yeah, we're just waiting to see who's going to push up to where.
Yeah, so right now the next zone is basically going to determine exactly how this pans out, because so many teams are clustered right up on top of the bridge, but both of those bridges are being camped. So the one on the east is being camped by Exist, and the one on the west is being camped by Exiles. And it looks like that's going to probably capitalize, because right now that zone has landed right on top of the western portion of the military island, which means all of the teams need to move their way in. So if they try and cross that bridge now, they're going to have quite a fun time.
Yeah, no, either way, both bridges are going to need to be crossed for these teams to roll up. And as you mentioned, we've got, that one team, 2 teams already on the main, on the military island, as you can see on the map there. The remainder of the teams all now have to still rotate up onto that island, and we're just waiting to see what's going to happen with the players there from the God Squad the team, of course, from whatever that team,
Akatsuki.
Team 21. Yeah, that one. I'll just say Cupachi. And the players there from Squad Lord Superior. So those three teams still, as you can see right over here, just battling it out, trying to get those hits in towards each other. And yeah, it might be a little bit challenging. So, but let's see. Maybe they might just be able to pull it off.
Yeah, so the fighting is now starting to break out. The teams having to decide exactly how they're going to make their way across the island. Some of them just hopping in that water, trying to cross the little river we've got going on here. A couple of other teams taking a fight just above that bridge, as you can see here. VG, they're up in the thick of things. A couple of teams just behind them as they try and now move closer in towards the bridge and potentially get in towards the zone. But that is the kicker right now, because you know, they have to get their way in here somehow, and well, it's not going to be easy.
No, definitely not going to be easy, but we're seeing the players there from 6-9 already making their rotation in. We got the Renegades also now just managing to get up onto that military island, and a few more teams, of course, now trying to make their push across. And yeah, we're seeing some teams still trying to battle it out in this blue zone instead of getting those rotations ready and pushing up in towards zone. So it is a bit strange, if I can say that. Yeah, and also now the players over here, the God Squad that you can see, they're rotating up through the blue zone, and the zone, of course, shifted over towards the eastern side. They are now heading, so the zone was shifted west, and they are heading east. So, yeah.
Yeah. So the decisions being made here are difficult ones, right? Because you need to rotate down, but you know there's like 3 teams surrounding you. So you have a couple of options, right? You push down to the bridge and attempt to cross a bridge with 2 teams behind you and a team in front of you. You jump in the water and hope that you can make it across. You can find a boat, maybe drive across a little bit quicker, or you rotate all the way around to the opposite bridge, hope no one's there and get across. We've seen it happen a couple of times before. Sometimes it works, sometimes not so much. You have to sort of take a gamble sometimes, especially when you know 100% that there's a team here and there might not be a team somewhere else. Regardless of the choice, though, all these players are very, very punished at the moment because of not being able to make those early rotations.
Yeah, well, we'll see what's going to happen. You know, quite a considerable amount of these teams already on this island in the zone. And you can see some of the players, they're now just getting hit out right there up over in that being the players from the team's name. I'm still struggling my butt off to say. And you can see the team there from Lord also now getting hit. And the players here, of course, this being the team here from the Esports team now just camping it out on that on the coast there, trying to put some of those hits in. They are succeeding with some of that, and you know, several more of the teams, of course, are up further in towards that central part of the zone.
Yeah, so right now you can actually also see that VG, who decided to rotate up through the blue zone, didn't make it. They got knocked out, and the blue zone will be claiming them. So they're not able to make it through the blue zone. A bit too rough this time around, not going to work out for them. The rest of the teams making their way into there's going to be a couple of them occupying that spot already. So quite a number of teams just trying to get into the zone. We have 3 or 4 teams already in here, 5 now coming in. The rest of the teams trying to push their way on up. But of course, that's going to get crowded pretty soon because that zone is going to get a whole lot smaller. And these teams...
There's not much cover once the zone shifts up once again. This blue zone, of course, closing in, and the only compounds really in play at the moment in the zone is that area where we see the exiles and, of course, the players there from the Moss crew. You know, so that's kind of the only options, and of course, a little bit over towards that southeastern side where we've got the map there. You know, just waiting to see what's going to happen. And several teams stuck on that western side. The shots, of course, now just running in. As you can see, the players in the kill feed getting hit as they try and make their way up. So, yeah, now we just wait to see who will be able to pull it off. We've got Existence also now slowly but surely closing in. And we still have that one player there from
Akatsuki.
From that team, yeah.
Yeah. So right now at the
Akatsuki.
moment we're having a look and seeing that the teams, they're making their way in. Exiles right in the center of that zone, just putting themselves in a good position. 6-9 trying to make their way out from the south. couple of teams moving in from the west, of course, exists there. Katsuki just up to the north in that little bay area there. Some teams up in the north as well. And well, at the moment, we're just waiting to see where the next zone is going to drop. Because the blue zone, it's on its way in. It'll be closing in pretty soon. And, well, these teams, they're getting close. And, I mean, even now you can see those long shots ringing off as the teams just put them in towards one another, trying to get in as much damage as possible. And as things get tighter and tighter, you know, the hits just come in more and more.
Yeah, and we're seeing the players, of course, there from the YSL squad, or YSL mob, rather, just rotating past one of our last remaining players for that God squad. So they're, well, I'd say that was a little bit of a missed opportunity. As you could see just a few glances of those players just off in the distance there. But we're also seeing the teams on that western side waiting to see what's going to happen there. Will we see that zone, of course, now pushing those players in towards each other? Which way it's going to go? You know, we've got no idea. Is it going to go north, south, east, west? Is it going to stay in the center? We will find out momentarily, of course, as the zone shifts up. And there we have it, shifts over towards the east. So quite a big number of our remaining teams already sitting in that zone. And now I think this is where it's going to get quite interesting for the teams that we have on the outlying regions, as they now need to try and make that push up, get that position in zone. And we see the Exiles already lining themselves up right on that, right on the perimeter of the zone, along with the players there from LXG, you know, so they might really go at it to start picking off the teams as they try to rotate up into a zone.
Yeah, and that's the benefit that the Exiles will be getting for rotating into the center of the zone. You know, regardless of where it lands, they're always going to be very close, or at least inside the zone on the perimeter. So they've got themselves a decent spot. All the teams now making their way up. You can see tons of them just moving in from the west. They're trying to get their way up into the zone, and the Exiles might just be able to put some hits in as this team starts to roll up.
Just look at the kill feed. It is absolutely lighting up now. So the players there from 6-9 getting hit in the process. We're seeing one of those players there from Akatsuki, whatever that team. Whatever. I tried, okay? Mr. Touch.
No,
Mr. Touch is moving up. He's trying to make his way, trying to find his way up in towards that zone. The team, of course, there from Existence now getting hit in the process. Shots flying up right towards them. Man, this is a pretty tricky spot, and we're also seeing a bit of third-party shots now coming in from the players there from NXG right over towards the team from Existence, of course. Also, the African Renegades right behind them over towards that southern position. Just look at those Grens flying up now from 6-9 as they're trying to move in towards the players there from LXG. It's a little bit of action over there on our southern side of that zone, and of course we have yet another player moving in, that of course being the one there from the YSL mob, Mr. Master Thirst.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah, so things are getting nice and spicy here at the moment. The team's just moving in. You can see those clusters towards the west and towards the east. A couple of teams towards the north as well. They're getting in very, very closely just based on the previous positioning. You know, we had the two groups. And this is sort of reflecting now in these final few zones. And they're really going to have to start sorting themselves out because they're very, very close. You can see the squad here from 6-9, of course, very close up here with LXG. So they have to exchange the fire because obviously only one team can come out on top of this one. And, well, that will be determined by who wins these fights and who uses this cover properly.
Oh, was just watching Touch on the other side, putting those hints into exist. He got taken out, but I mean, that was a beautiful ambush that he executed there. And you can see the players here from LXG, of course, now still trying to find that angle on the 6-9 team. The blue zone is closing in. We're about to see the next shift. And there we go. The players from Moz once again have the zone in their favor. Same goes for LXG.
Yeah, so basically the zone at the moment, right, and that's not the new zone, just the space at the moment is 2 hills, right, next to the road. 1 hill on the one side, 1 hill on the other side, and of course now the 1 hill has basically been chosen at this point. You know, LXG sort of in the spot, and you can see the fighting for the mountain now is pretty much going to be the biggest point here. And the team now on the other mountain is going to have to rotate up. Of course, the Exile is going to make their way down. The rest of the team is going to start moving up. But now it's going to be about how the teams who are already on the other mountain inside the zone, how they utilize that. If Exiles can put some hits, the other teams who are rotating up to get in towards the position can put the hits in, they can probably claim that spot or maybe attack the spot here and nullify its position. So at this point, you know, it's a case of utilizing what is inside the zone to your advantage.
Yeah. Well, we are seeing the players there from Existence, of course, now just rushing up in towards, right into that valley area where we've got the players there from the Moss crew, and still have the players here from LXG and 6ix9ine up on that hillside battling it out. But as you mentioned, you know, we're going to see who will be able to capitalize on their position here, who's got the best angle, and of course, you know, who's able to land those shots, those crucial shots.
Yeah.
They need to try and get in. Shush.
Yeah. So it's definitely a difficult spot to be in now for these teams, because they, you know, especially for teams that were on the other mountain near the Exiles exist, they all had to rotate down. Now they've been able to use these buildings here that you can see on your screen as cover. They can get in here and they can at least utilize this for the moment. But you know, with how the zone moves, who knows how long that's going to last. So right now the Exiles putting in a couple of hits, trying to just capitalize on the fact that there's maybe a couple of teams, you know, out of position here on this mountain. And we'll see if or how the teams decide to play this one out, because you can see all the teams just, you know, sort of inside the building, just garrisoned inside these buildings. And basically the first team that can really get a successful raid will probably be in a really good spot.
Yeah, I think it also depends on where the zone's going to shift to. I mean, I think the next zone is going to be pretty much the deciding factor. Because that would determine whether or not the teams that we've got in the compounds, whether or not they need to move out, or whether the teams that are up on the hill are going to have to move in.
Yep.
You know, and either way, it's going to be really, really tough.
Yeah, but do you know what's the biggest thing that's happening on the map right now? The Exiles are taking shots, and I think they just wiped out 6ix9ine. Which is pretty much huge, because that was a big contender for the movement there, and that was the best utilization of that spot as possible. They made sure to wipe out a team that could have potentially been in their way if the zone rotated outside of their favor. So that was a good utilization of that downtime.
Well, I mean, 6ix9ine was in the exact spot where the zone is about to move to. So, you know, let's say there was a good play, but now we're going to see what these teams are going to do and how they're going to do it, because, I mean, everyone now needs to make that push up in towards the open area. That's the only play. I mean, we've got about 15 seconds or so left until the zone starts moving up. And, you know, it's going to be really, really tough. And I think this is going to be the decider. You're going to see who's going to get the chicken in this next rotation within the next few seconds.
Yeah, 100%, because these teams need to make their way up. And right now, LXG, they tried to make a dash for the zone. And, well, Moz is putting some hits in on them, but Exile's actually putting the hits in behind them. So it's like a three-way line at the moment. One team trying to take out another team, trying to take out another team. And basically, no one's getting into zone. And the first team to rotate up into that zone is most likely going to be in the process of every single other team here. So they really need to start taking shots at one another before they do that rotate.
Well, LXG, of course, now being able to get into that zone, or even just partially, you can see all the teams now slowly but surely trying to move up. We got Mr. Ruthless still trapped in that compound, and shots still ringing up from the Exiles as they now push forward into the open area for the zone. So now we're just waiting to see who will be able to get these last few hits in, who will get that successful squad wipe, you know, and that right there will be the last squad wipe they need for this match. And there we go. Two teams. It is now the Exiles going right up against the base there for LXG. So let's see who will be able to get it. LXG taking quite a bit of damage.
Yeah, this is close. This is very close. Exiles and LXG, they're on the precipice, but Inkosi is actually pushing up there. Could get a very good angle here if they don't take him out. Might do a lot of damage. Let's see if those straight up there.
Whoa. Here it comes. There we go. And it is done us.
Yep. Yep.
There we go.
Very nice push.
Well played. There we go. So 14 kills for the Exiles there in first place. We got the players from LXG, of course, finishing their play off with 8 kills in second. We got the Moz crew finishing with 1 kill in third. Then we got the team from Existence there in fourth place, finishing up with 6 kills. 6ix9ine in fifth, coming in with that 1 kill. And then, of course, we got the players here from...
I think it had a Y in there or something.
Yeah. Wait. Oh, man. Oh, YSL Mob. There we go. YSL Mob. Yeah, up in 6th place with 1 kill. We got the African Renegades finishing off with 1 in 7th. We got the players there from Q Patchy?
Akatsuki.
Yes, there we go. In 8th place, we got the players there from the V squad finishing off in a 9th place. Then we've got the players over here from that sports in 10th place. Yeah, quite some interesting placements going down the list there. You know,
Yeah.
so we'll see which of these teams will be the ones that of course, then make it up into the next round. You can see the elites there, of course, in 11th place. Anarchy Angels there in 12th place. We got the players from Lord Squad Lord Superior finishing off in 13th, and then of course the players there from, I don't know which one is this. Wait. That's Iconics. There we go. So Iconics going back to the lobby first. So there we go. There we have it. That's our 14 teams, the 14 placements that we got for this round. So yeah, now we're just waiting to see what is going to happen in the next one. And second round with the best out of 3 that we're going to be seeing.
Yeah. So a very, very interesting match overall. Some nice stuff going on there. A good southern zone, very spicy, and hopefully we'll see that again in the next one.
Yeah, well, let's hope for all the best and see how this goes. Just say that again. Yep. All right, so we're going to go into a quick break while we wait for this last round to get underway. So without further ado, here we go. What's up, guys? Welcome back. All right, so we are getting ready to go into our round 2. And this, of course, being a best out of 3. So we got 3 matches lined up. A very blurry camera on my side. I don't know what's up with this. But anyway, Patsy, I mean, just based on what we saw in that previous match, I think we are in for quite some entertaining action.
Yeah, I mean, let's hope that the game keeps giving us some interesting zones. We got a really nice southern one. It's been a while since we've seen one so decisively southern, which is great. You know, all the way down there in the base, super nice to see. Teams had to rotate, all that good stuff, and we saw some nice fighting as well. So hopefully we see a little bit more of that. Of course, these teams out here to put some good show on for us.
Yeah, let's hope. And I mean, I'm quite excited to see what it is. And of course, we're going straight up into that Erangel map. So it is going to be very interesting. And, you know, the teams, of course, have had several goes and, you know, they are quite proficient with the map, if we can say it, if we can call it that way. So it's interesting to see which way around it's going to go. And of course, then, yeah, the teams that we've got in this lobby is also quite, it's going to be a very interesting matchup. Of course, got the top placing teams from both lobbies making their way in. So yeah, it's going to be quite the lineup. And in fact, we've got the players from that VG God Squad up in the lobby. We've got the Exiles, we've got Alex G, we've got the Moss Crew Fatal, we've got Existence Esports, YSL Mob, we've got the African Renegades, Akatsuki.
Yeah, there we go. Hey,
woohoo, nailed it. We got 6ix9ine in the lobby as well. We've got the players there from Ink Esports. We've got Active Gamers, Empire Gaming. We've got the Moz Gamers, Outlaws Gaming, Endgame, Hawk.
That's a lot of games.
The Liberators. It's not done yet. We've got God Gaming, the Psychonex, and then of course the players from Team Untold. So yeah, a lot of gaming in this round, and yeah, I'm pretty keen to see what's going to happen. You know, the flight path, of course, taking us all the way from the military base down in the south there and heading straight up to just west of Severny. So some pretty good spots there for those teams to move up into. Yep,
they're gonna have some nice access to pretty much most of those spots that everyone likes to get up into. You know, Rozhok, Pachink, it's all gonna be there. They can probably make their way up to South George if they really want to do that. Yasnaya shouldn't be too far off the map as well. And of course, a couple of teams dropping into that military base, which I like to see. Very nice. And actually, I think this is the second time that we've seen 6ix9ine actually drop into this military base, which is very nice to see. So maybe a team that likes to frequent the spot are really nice. I like to see it. That zone is going to be falling towards the eastern side, so nothing crazy, unless it decides to, you know, just center somewhere where we really wouldn't expect it. We're probably not going to see anything too nuts. It is on the sort of northeastern side, nothing unexpected. So at least the teams will be feeling a little bit more comfortable in this one. We can see that they will have quite a big group of them around the George area and towards Rozhok, which means, and of course down towards the south by Farm. So there's a lot of teams sort of grouped together at the moment, which means potential early fights.
Yeah, no, a big potential for, you know, this early game action. And of course the players there from 6ix9ine earning some big brownie points here with Mr. Patchy.
Oh yeah.
I wouldn't say it's your favorite team, but, you know, they're definitely on the list there somewhere. But we are seeing some action, of course, now between the teams. As you can see, all of the teams just dropping down. And as you mentioned, quite a big concentration of players over there in North George. Well, it's looking pretty insane. And we're seeing a lot of action, of course, now also between the players there from Untold. Lots of shots flying in between those players. Then, of course, just being on the side of school, and the players here from Empire Gaming now just doing a little bit of a dance around the players here from the Liberators. So we're waiting to see what's going to happen, who will be able to clutch it out. You can see the kills there. Oh, that kill feed just lighting up as the players there from Untold, of course, now start moving in and start putting those shots in. And they're, of course, busy battling it out with the players from the YSL Mob.
Yeah, that's really nice to see that early fights are happening already. You know, these teams dropping quite close to one another means that they're just putting the hits in at the moment, just wiping each other out, really just challenging one another at every corner here. Noob just going to be taken down here as the rest of the squad rolls up in here, and this early aggression is really nice to see. So this is obviously happening up here in Severny. But there's a couple of places all across the map that this is happening. You know, we've got a lot of people in North and South George. We've got a lot of people around Rosok. We've got a lot of people down south in the southern portion of the zone. So some nice early fights just to knock out a couple of teams, make things a little bit easy to breathe here. You can see just the last player going to be swinging around that wall, trying to get some hits. Probably not going to last very long. But so this is really nice to see. I like it.
Yeah, the Liberators really trying to hold on to what... oh, well, there we go. They've just run out of options. Off to the lobby they go. The team there from Empire Gaming, of course, now sending them back. And yeah, we're still sitting with 17 teams in this lobby. We, of course, started off with 20. So yeah, it's definitely going to be a very interesting one. And I'm quite keen to see what's happening over there in the North George area, where we've got that big concentration of teams that, of course, being the players there from Esports, the team from Endgame. We're also watching the players there from Akatsuki, that one. The players also from the Moss Crew Fatal. As you can see them all right here on the screen. Shots, of course, now flying in. There we go. That being the players there from Esports. Mr. Adonis, that just gets, they just got knocked out. Yeah.
Here
we go.
Couple of teams up in here taking those pot shots. Of course, you can see Akatsuki just here on the border. Some hits going in there. It's Obito putting them in. Nice and spicy there. Going to be, just putting on the pressure. Very nice to see. The early game aggression continues. I like it. You know, the first zone hasn't even started making its way in really in any earnest. And we've already got, you know, plenty of players wiped out. We started with like above 70. We're already on 63 players remaining. And that's quite nice, you know. Teams knocking out each other means they make space for themselves on the map. They make it a bit easier to go into the final zone. You know, there's less teams to worry about when they do eventually make their rotate, and it makes it a lot easier to move around the map with, without getting the pressure from behind or without having to worry about getting third-partied or anything crazy like that. And so the early game aggression actually opens up more options for aggression later on potentially. So I'm interested to see how this develops, and of course, when that zone finally comes in, we'll see where the next one lands.
Yeah, we'll see how it goes. I mean, I'm also quite interested interested to see what's going to happen when this blue zone starts closing in. You know, these teams now all need to get those rotations sorted, get moving up in towards the zone. And, you know, we might just very well see quite a crowded zone, as everyone, of course, now would be trying to make their way up. You know, there's a lot of potential seeing that. We've got 4 teams right here. The players, of course, they're from the Moss Crew Fatal, slowly but surely making their way over towards the western side. And then we got a few more players here from Akatsuki, making their way around, slowly but surely heading off in the direction of zone. And we are seeing the players also then from, that being the team from Hawk. Ooh, just there on the inside of the zone. Moving up, we should probably hopefully see something in the kill feed anytime soon. So let's see if that is going to happen. We almost have Mr. Zetsu looking right in that direction. As you can see on the map, there we go. Yondu and company right there on that perimeter part of the map. And just waiting to see Endgame also just, one half of, let's call it half. Seeing that it's one of 4, so 1/4 of the team in zone. Maths. There we go.
Yeah, so that blue zone is now coming in, which is going to put the pressure on. And one of the things that we haven't actually seen enough of in George specifically is that the teams haven't wiped one another out. They did put some shots, but they didn't really press. Yeah. There's no, there was no raiding or anything like that, which means that this blue zone is now going to become a potential problem, because the teams obviously have to start moving up. And as soon as that happens, there's going to be a line. Somebody's going to be in front of somebody else. The hits are going to come in from front and the back, and that's going to be a difficult spot to rotate up in. So Akatsuki are going to be in a good position in the fact that they are still being able to make their way in first, but the rest of the teams now have to follow suit. And there's quite a few of them now. So they're going to have to try and come past each other without getting taken out.
Yeah, and so speaking of which, we see the players there from Existence now just rotating up from that military island, heading up in towards Malta, where we've got the team there from the Outlaws Gaming, as well as some of the players from the Psychonex. So, yet again, there is some more potential. And we're also seeing the players now from the Exiles moving up, rotating right past the players there from Active Gaming. In fact, they are pulling right up onto their doorstep. As you can see them now just going at it here right on the screen. Shots, of course, now flying back and forth. Oh, Insidious getting knocked down and goes Mr. Evax. Now, Hero also getting knocked out, so everything riding on Panda now. Let's see, will Panda be able to get it? I don't know, I'm not sure where he is. No, Panda's quite far away, so he's, of course, now still slowly but surely making his way up in towards that position. So a lot of action now unfolding in that zone. As you'll see the zone now also just shifting in. And look at the teams on that western side trying to make their way up in towards zone. It is absolutely insane. And I think the first team to get into zone, if they stop and, just turn around and try to put those hits in, it is going to be an absolute slaughter fest.
Yeah. So, like I said, the issue here now is that all the teams that were rotating in from the west are just going to be really crowding up that side. And basically, like you said, the first team that can really get into that zone could potentially just do a 180 turn around and just shoot everyone behind them and really stop them from being able to get in, because not only are their bullets doing the damage, obviously that blue zone going to be tickling them as well, which is a great help. And, when you're sort of in this position, it's basically just a result of two things. The fight was there and the pressure was on because of the fight, but the fight wasn't pressed to any sort of victory. No one wanted to take the risk because they felt it was too early, which means no one got wiped out, which means by the time they needed to rotate, the pressure was still there. So they literally have to rotate up slowly with that pressure still on, and that's a difficult spot to be in.
Yeah, no, it's definitely going to be a little bit of a tricky one. So we'll see what's going to happen now as, the zone has stopped moving, but it is closing in once again in about 10 seconds time. So the teams definitely need to get the move on, because, we are still looking at quite a few teams stuck out in that blue zone, and the blue zone is going to be moving up once again. So it's going to make it so much harder for these teams now to find a good position in that zone. Well, aside from not only just battling the zone, battling that blue zone to make that rotation, and of course not to get taken down by it.
Yeah. So at the moment, 17 teams, 60 players, a lot of them already making their way up into that zone, getting themselves settled in to go for that long haul. You can see a couple of teams actually getting hit by that blue zone now, and just as a result of staying out there. I don't know if that one was a mistake or not, or whatever the case is. But right now, you can see a lot of teams moving up into that Yasnaya area. It's very central towards the zone. And as this blue zone makes its way in some more, being in that central point gives you a really great spot to be in for the next rotation. But when there's already tons of teams there, it can become a very, very difficult hot spot there to try and take fights in. So, I guess right now we're just waiting to see where these teams land and where the next zone finds itself, because this huge group of teams that still remain is eventually going to have to rotate up somewhere, and that's going to mean some more fighting.
Yeah, no, and speaking about the fighting, there's quite a few teams, of course, now converging right in at that Yasnaya region, as we see the players there from Moscrew Fatal, the team from Untold Existence, as well as the players from LXG, and then also the team, of course, there from the African Renegades, all closing in that Yasnaya. That's my please hold while I scroll through the teams list. But you can see quite a few teams now moving up into this region, and we also see another team moving in from the side there, that being the team from the Outlaw Gaming, as you can see them just over towards that southeastern side, right behind the team that we've got there from God Gaming. So there's a lot of potential for a lot of crazy action just here. Oh, and there is the zone.
So this is potentially one of the most destructive zones that could have happened, because now all of the teams from the south have to move up. There's already a giant cluster in Yasnaya, which is in the south of the zone. So all the teams below that are going to be rotating up into Yasnaya potentially, which means even more teams are going to be there, which means even more fights are going to happen.
Yeah, and it's going to be super, super tough. Trying to see which way these teams are going to try and push now. As you can see, the action unfolding right here in Yasnaya with the African Renegades. The players, of course, just up ahead of them. You can see the team there in slot 23. Then, of course, being the players from the Psychonex squad. And then, of course, also the Moscrew Fatal just over there, over towards that southwestern side. So there's even more teams still coming into the zone. So it's not enough having all these teams right here. There are even more of them on the way, heading up right into this position. So I'm really feeling it for these teams. This
Yep.
is going to be super, super tough.
Yep, like I said, all the teams in the south just rolling on up into an already hugely clustered southern portion of the zone. Tons of teams going out here. I mean, if this is not a bloodbath that's about to happen, like I don't know what it is.
Yeah, and I mean, this is one of those instances where this situation kind of happened because of the zone shifting shifting up in such a erratic kind of sense, you know.
Yeah.
Sometimes the zone shifts are quite nice and pleasant, if you can put it that way. But these zone shifts in this round have been absolutely brutal. And I mean, from what we could see, it seemed like some of the teams were also struggling to find vehicles and such to get those rotations sorted, you know, or rather to assist them with making it up into towards zone. And now looking at the map, you know, it seems like the tables have turned. There's so many teams heading up in vehicles. Everyone just rolling up in towards that eastern side. So that is, of course, now going to get super, super, super packed.
Yep. I mean, that's basically just as a result of exactly what we were describing there. The southern portion so packed that basically what's happening is they realize that there's teams up there. So they're all like, okay, we need to get out of here. So they take the path of least resistance, which is towards the east. They go up there. And that means that everyone is already there because that's where they're all going. So they're all just sort of flowing like a giant river. They're not really getting away from one another. So look at this. They're all just, it's just a big river of people.
Migration.
Yeah,
it's a big migration of players. Everyone's rolling up in the same direction, and all the teams, of course, now just picking each other off as they all now try and rotate in. Everyone fighting for a little piece of land, you know, trying to get a little bit of real estate so they can establish themselves and battle from there. But I mean, it is so highly contested. All these regions where the players go now, the zone shift comes in and it throws everything all the way over to that western side. So it's like these teams just can't get ahead of this zone.
Yeah,
you know,
this zone is just out to absolutely punish these teams. No mercy at all. And now the fights just continue. You can see Jin getting absolutely clapped. Everyone just trying to make their way up. Zones just being an absolute killer right here. They're just going to have to move up as quickly as possible. Teams knocking one another left and right to try and get that tempo advantage, to try and just give themselves that opportunity to rotate. And it's just absolute chaos.
Yeah, no, this is brutal. I mean, this is one of the most brutal zone shifts I've seen in quite some time. But well done to the players there from God Gaming, getting those hits in on existence, you know, sorting them out, sending them to lobby. We still have those teams down over here in Yasnaya. Those three teams right there, that of course being the players from the Psychonex, the team there from this is my please load sound once again. The African Renegades, and then of course also the players there from the Moz crew.
Yeah.
Moz crew Fatal. All right, so we're waiting to see whether or not they're going to start rotating up. So hopefully they do. Of course, you can see Mr. Beast. He's already on the roll. Mr. 07, missing one of the O's. And there's a few more players, of course, now making their rotation up in towards that northern part of the zone. We only have 15 teams left. Doesn't seem like quite a lot, but I mean, it's 46 players all moving into a zone that's almost, well, I don't know. Let's see, like 700 meters across.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not very big. I mean, considering there are 46 players, it's not very big. And everyone's just rotating now. You can see all of those rotates off the back of the previous rotates, which is literally off the back of the fact that the zone has been an absolute crazy piece of work right now. And everyone's just moving up there, sort of occupying the eastern part of the zone. There's already a couple of teams in the center. Everyone's just taking shots at the moment. Everyone's trying to get a good spot, and that's just putting them in a bad spot. And that's really just the name of the game.
Yeah, pick the least worst spot. Yeah. And the players here from Moz managing to land that vehicle in a very precarious position there. Well done. It's not often that we see that happening, but of course now they are getting pushed here by LXG as they're now also just trying to make their way up into a zone. And in fact, the zone is getting lit up, shots going off all over the place. In game, we've got the players there from Psychonex. We've got everyone shooting at everyone. This is such a packed zone, and all the teams are now just trying to find that spot, you know, where they can just hold on to just quickly, just to catch their breath before going into the next fight. But this zone, as we've mentioned so far, has no mercy. It's just like, well, you've rotated up so far, might as well just keep going. Here's another random shift and another one and another one, you know?
Yeah, this game, it's been interesting. Like, usually we sit here talking about the strategic rotates and how you can plan ahead, but this zone has been so ruthless. Like, I do not blame any of these teams right now for just descending into chaos and just trying to stay alive and trying to get into the least worst spot. Everyone is just packed right now. There is no room to breathe. There's no room to move. And once again, that zone landing all the way to the south is going to force the teams to rotate once again, push in towards the zone. And, well, the fights are happening once again as they try and make their way up. They try and make the space for themselves to try and get in there. Of course, LXG just clearing the way at the moment to try and get up into that zone. Hawk going to be moving down. You know, Empire going to be moving in as well. Everyone just going to have to move in, putting the hits in to try and clear the path in towards that zone. 11 teams now remaining.
I mean, yet again, the zone shifts up, moves all the way to the south. All the teams moving up in towards that northeastern region. And then the game throws them another one and, you know, shifts all the way down to the south. So if you've ever wanted to see a zone that kind of wants to get rid of the players on the map, this match is a perfect example of that. I mean, the game shifts and then all the teams move in. It's like, great, everyone's in this corner and right. Now moving all the way up into the opposite direction. And it's making it so tough for these teams. It's like they just can't, you know, they just can't keep up with the zone.
Yeah, they cannot get a break right now. You can see people getting run over by both cars, bullets, and just falling to their doom. And that seems to be the name of the game right now. It's just absolute chaos all across the board. Teams already making their way in. End game is in here. Akatsuki making their way up as well. You can see everyone just trying to rotate around and get themselves in somewhere, anywhere that they can find a footing to try and make this happen. Even nobody rotating down to the south going to be meeting a couple of pieces of resistance here as shots flying off. Everyone just trying to make their way in, trying to make the distance to get into that final zone. We have 10 teams, 27 players left remaining now, and the number is dropping rapidly.
Yep, no, definitely it is. And I mean, it is absolutely insane. The map, of course, clearing up ever so slightly, you know, for this one.
Yeah.
You know, it's like the game's like, okay, cool, maybe, you know, let's give them a little bit of breathing room here. And the shots are still ringing all over the place. We have those players from Empire still trying to make their move in right next to the team from LXG. And of course, we're watching the players here from Endgame now just defending against the team here from Akatsuki. Yeah, let's go with that one. As they're not trying to move in. So Nemesis and CR7, the two remaining players there. Yeah, it's quite down ever so slightly now that the majority of this insanity has kind of come to a quick more call it a halt.
Yeah,
not that it's really a halt, but yeah, you know what I mean.
Yeah, I mean, most of the players have died at this point. You know, it's like they're out now. There's a little bit more room to breathe. The zone going to be shifting down towards the southeast. Some shots now going to be hit by Empire. Other shots heading off towards, I think it's the Renegades, putting those in. Teams now, Akatsuki getting fired upon by both Endgame and the other team there, that's Hawk. And, well, they're just once again trying to clear the way to move up into the zone. They've really been put in a difficult position by the zone. Everyone knows it. They're sort of panting at this point. It's really just they're like, can we just get a break? Finally, please, just somebody, anybody, just give us a break at this point.
No, and it's really, really tough. I mean, yeah, we're just trying to see what's going to happen and, who will be able to take that last breath. And now, once again, the zone shifts up into a section where no one is.
Yeah.
So now everyone has to rotate up once again. We got these 3-4 teams right here on the side. We're going to see those shots, of course, now flying back and forth. The Hawks putting those shots right up into the players there from Akatsuki. And, we're just waiting to see if Endgame, who's already rotated up ever so slightly, if they're going to maybe try and capitalize on their position or their rotation there and try and keep the teams that are now trying to move up. And it might seem like Mr. Nemesis is doing exactly that.
Yeah. Akatsuki is very much on the back foot at the moment. LXG going to be taking some heavy fire as well. Emp going to be putting those hits in. Deadly is trying to get the rotate on, actually trying to run over the players from Empire there. He's just going to slide on past there after he misses that one. Akatsuki going to be taking some heavy fire at the moment as well. Endgame trying to put those hits in and just capitalize on the position that they have at the moment. things looking pretty interesting. We've got Empire on the one side there, inside the zone already. Of course, Endgame, Akatsuki, and Hawk need to make their way up in there. The Renegades as well, just towards the side there, just in the zone. And well, you can see Zetsu just trying to rotate up and get the hit on towards Endgame, see if he can make anything happen for the team and keep them keep their hopes alive for the moment. Trying to get in there. He's right up close, maybe trying to get a cheeky peek onto them and maybe just get the drop. We'll see if he can do that.
Yeah, well, it's going to be a really, really tough one. It's not going to come easy, but let's see. Maybe he'll be able to clutch it out as the players here from Endgame are still trying to move around. They are almost in zone. They've got a few meters to go just to get into that little section. You know, it's so close, but still so far. So much can happen. As you can see, Mr. Yondu getting knocked out in the process there. Fireboy now just moving up right in towards that zone. They're trying to find a little bit of cover. Let's see, will Endgame be able to get these hits in, or will Mr. Zetsu be able to get those shots? It's going to be close.
Yeah. Especially since what else is close is this blue zone, so things are just a little bit precarious here for these teams. A nice nade going in, see if you can do a little bit of damage. Just going to be not enough really, and now Zetsu gets rushed, he gets taken down. Nemesis is just going to take him out, leaving 4 teams remaining here on this board. Of course, now Fireboy taking the hit, he's just going to be wiped straight out there, leaving 3 teams now remaining, that of course being Empire, Renegades, from the end game.
Yeah, well, what a beautiful push that was there by Mr. Nemesis. He was like, you know what, I'm not going to wait for this guy to put the shots into me. I'm just going to rush him and take him down. And that was a pretty beautiful play, getting those, you know, those finishing blows in there. And now we're just waiting to see what Mr. Mr. BTS here is going to do for the Renegade team. Will he be able to get a few more kills in? They're already sitting on 6 and already in the top 3. So now we're just waiting to see what's going to happen. You know, where they're going to end up. Will Empire come in and rule the Empire with their 3 players? Because it's pretty much a 3v1v2.
Yeah. Yeah, basically this position is quite difficult for all the players that are very much struggling. Obviously, BTS not in a great spot. He's actually going to be taking quite a bit of damage there. Rolex going to put those ones straight in, leaving 2 remaining teams. It's Endgame and, of course, Empire there. And, Empire, they have 3 members. It's a 3v2 Endgame, taking now serious hits there. And, well, now it's down to 1. Can they make this happen? CR7 going to have to do all the work, and I'm not sure if it's even possible at this point. No cover to work around, basically. It's just everything down to aim.
Yeah, no, it's going to be really, really tough. And I mean, the bushes were only helpful so long. Not that it provides much cover, especially at this point. You know, if he plays it well, he might be able to use a little bit of a ridge or something in his favor. Maybe even the street right up ahead of him. You know, he's just trying to land those hits in. Mr. Trip, of course, very comfortable behind that rock. And there we go. Those finishing blows coming in right in towards the end game, finishing it off. Empire finishing their play off with 14 kills and the chicken dinner. End game coming in with 5 kills in the second place. Renegades finishing up in third place. Coming in there with 6 kills. The Hawks finish off with 2 in fourth place. Akatsuki. Here we go. In 5th place, finishing their play off on 7 kills. So well done, well played. Now we've got a few more teams going down the list there. But we've seen some pretty interesting things. And I mean, looking at some of the kills just going down this list also it's pretty pretty interesting. I don't know why I said entertaining. Well, it was too. But,
it certainly was, yeah. Yeah, it was very entertaining. But the reason, usually you see the teams that are in the top sort of 10 getting the most kills and sort of dropping off as it goes. But the reason this is just going to be such a hugely different result than what we usually see is because of the fact that this game that we just witnessed was just absolute chaos from start to finish. The zone, absolutely ruthless, cold and merciless from beginning to end. The zones dropping were just throwing a complete curveball to all the teams here. And that meant that all the teams were just thrown into big fighting situations with tons of other teams just rolling past them, like everyone crowded up, like a giant crowd of people just walking up in the same direction, from the same spots, you know, and that means that lots of teams were just putting hits in, getting kills left and right. Everything was just going nuts. And they themselves, because they were in such a precarious position, would get taken out. So a team with like, 12 kills could have been taken out like 10th, 12th, whatever, just because of the way that this match, went out. And this was one of probably the most difficult games that I've seen for quite some time.
No, it was really a quite a challenging match there, and yeah, well done to all the teams for making it, all the way through the zone. Some of the teams, of course, getting sent back. But if we're looking at what stage of the game that actually happened, most of the teams really managed to survive quite some time before, everyone got all rushed and pushed together and then got sent back into the lobby. But
Yeah.
I think on that one, we're pretty much ready to, head off into the break, and then of course get the next match underway, because we've got 2 more still to come.
Yeah. So I guess without further ado, we'll head over to that break, and we'll see you in a bit.
What's up, guys? Welcome back. All right, so we are getting ready for our second round. So, yeah, PUBG has been pretty tough. Ooh, you can see it's cold here. I've still got my hoodie on.
Yeah, it's been an
Here we go.
interesting one. We've had quite an interesting set of games here. You know, that previous one was just nuts. You know, like strategy basically just went out the window. Everyone was just trying to rush into the zone, like frantically dashing in giant droves of people to try and get in there. So yeah, it's very, very interesting. Maybe we'll get another ruthless zone, or perhaps we'll get a little bit of a breather. Perhaps these players will be able to just take a bit of a chill pill, and maybe we'll see something a little less punishing than we did in the previous one.
Yeah, well, I think on that, let's get into the standings so we can see where these teams are at the current moment, you know, before we get into this next match. So, as you can see, the players there from Empire Gaming, we've got them currently sitting in pole position with 34 points. You got the team then, of course, from End Gaming in second place with 20 points. I mean, moving into third place, we've got the players there from LXG with 18 points. As you can see there, they've managed to get a few kills in along the way. Of course, the players there from what? Actually, just say the name, please.
Akatsuki.
There we go. With 16 points, I'm going to keep on struggling. We've got the African Renegades there in fifth place with 14 points. We've got the Hawks sitting in sixth with 12 points. And yeah, I mean, there we go. God Gaming, 10 points in seventh place. We've got the Outlaw Gaming team in eighth place with 9 points. In ninth place, we've got the players there from VG God Squad with 7 points. And of course, we've got the players from Active Gamers in 10th place with 7 points. In 11th, we've got Exile Africa with 5 points. Team Untold in 12th with 5. Let's see. Next up is Existence with 3 points in 13th place. We've got the YSL Mob in 14th with 3 points. We've got 6ix9ine in 15th with 2 points. And of course, we got the players there from Moss Crew Fatal in 16th with 2 points. We got the Psychonex team in 17th with 2 as well. Also have the players from Ink Esports in 18th with 1. We got the Liberators in 19th with 1 point as well. And there we go. There we have it. That is our standings for the team. So yeah, let's jump into the match and see what we got cooking.
Match super spicy. That zone going to be very, very interesting because all these players have pretty much free reign over the map. Obviously, that flight path going all the way from the north to the south. Everyone's going to be dropping everywhere. They have access to the north part of the map. They have access to the middle, the east, the west will be easy to get to. And of course, that military base also going to be dropped in. And well, the zone is going to fall all the way on towards the west. So most of the teams actually going to feel okay with this one. You can see most of them already in the zone. So we're not going to have too much of a crazy sort of rotate in, at least initially, assuming some of the teams do decide to push up into that free real estate, which is of course on the western side there.
Yeah, and the teams we're going to be watching for this one, of course, being our top 3 sitting teams at the moment, being the ones there from Empire Gaming in game, and of course the African Renegades. Ooh, so the team here from I blanked out again. Oh man! All right, wait! I got it. God Squad. There we go. God Squad putting those shots in. So they busy battling it out with God Gaming. So oh my God, there is some crazy action right over here. The teams. Let's see who's gonna get it. Will Squad get the hit in on Gaming, or what is gonna happen? How will this unfold?
Yeah, so it's nice to see that some teams have dropped really, really close to one another. You can see even some a little bit of squashing going on here. The car's just going to be running back and forth. Mars going to be getting hit pretty hard here. And the teams have dropped relatively close to one another, but there is lots of free real estate. So if they do decide to rotate instead of take the fight, they can move up there a little bit more safely. In the meantime, though, a couple of teams just getting a little bit aggressive towards one another nice and early, as we always like.
Yeah, and we got a few teams, of course. As you can see, the two God teams over here going at each other. We've got the players, of course, over at the Nova Crates. That being the teams there from the whatever. Patchy, please just say the name so I can stop struggling with it.
Akatsuki.
Yes, that one and Existence over in the Nova Crates. I'm so sorry, but they chose a really super difficult name for me to pronounce, especially on the fly. I'm struggling. And we've got the players there from Moss Crew Fatal as well as Endgame also fairly close together. up in that area. They're close to the Georgeable crates, but we can see Kaido now just trying to move up, trying to find that angle on the players. Will he be able to get it in game? Also now putting a few hits into Mars, as we can see in the kill feed. 16 teams remaining, 57 players. OP getting sent right back into that lobby. Ooh, yep. That has been a pretty tough one so far. Ooh.
Yeah. The fights are really happening at the moment. These players sort of sick and tired of just being forced to run around like crazy people. So they're just taking the fights now. They're like, we want to get the fights now. We want to get those hits in. And, well, the hits are definitely going in here. You can see towards the north, lots of players taking the fight there towards that military island. Also, a couple of teams just hitting it off. Of course, Akatsuki going to be putting the shots in towards the Exiles, I believe it is, and Return Fire will be there as well. The teams now just... just wiping one another out for a little bit, just making sure that some of the teams are out of the lobby by the time stuff starts to rotate in, so there's not so many people.
Yeah. Well, we'll see how this unfolds and where all these teams are going to go to, because, there's still a lot of space in that central part of the zone, and a lot of teams are just, all positioned on this perimeter kind of almost of the zone.
Yeah. So we're going to have a look and see how these teams decide to react to this, the fact that there is still plenty of space here. Do they know that? I'm not sure, but right now the fights are still happening at the moment. The Akatsuki getting hit a little bit there towards the eastern side of that military base here. You can, of course, see Akatsuki just on the precipice here right next to the players there from Exist, is it? Just make sure of that. Yeah, it looks like it. So they're going to be out here, going to be putting those hits across. Of course, you can see them just rolling up. We'll see if Exist does decide to push up here. Akatsuki looking a little bit worse for where they have been hit, but Frenzy maybe just going to be making a quick dash over to Zetsu to try and get that res in. A good time for Unseen to make a push is now, because Touch is alone here in towards this house.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, let's see. Maybe they could get those shots in. You can see Mr. Unseen, of course, now cooking that grin up.
Oof.
Yeah. Yo, come on, who's gonna get it? Ruthless. There we go, getting in touch with the player there up in the building. Now let's see what will unfold. Are they gonna keep on pushing in? Exist really doing quite a bit of damage to the players here.
Yeah, looks like they're just actually gonna roll over as the Akatsuki try and rotate out and back. Exist obviously do not want to let them get away so easily, so they will be making their way up using that vehicle to just get ahead and start scouting out for the positions of the remaining Akatsuki players, who are very low at this point.
Yeah, no, they've taken quite a few hits. So we're waiting to see, but they're of course now rotating up along the shoreline. They're trying to survive as long as they can, playing it a bit safe. You can see Mr. Zetsu here not looking too great in the health department. Obito also, just trying to get it all the way over to the edge here. The zone, fortunately for them, not too far away, but on foot, it is some distance to cover. So we'll see, will they be able to get it, or what will happen?
Yeah, they're just trying to take the sprint now, and that's exactly what they need to do. They need to sprint as hard as they can up all across the coast towards that zone. They will be able to make it in. The zone does encompass a little bit of that island. You can see here on your map, just a small portion of the military island is within the zone, so they will be able to make it up there. If they take a hard sprint, obviously the first blue zone doesn't come up too fast, so they could still make it in without too much damage happening. Of course, up towards George, there's still teams are pretty packed up in there, but you can see they haven't really taken the fight against one another because the zone isn't forcing them to do so. So they're sitting in their spot, putting the pot shots across, maybe just trying to, get a little bit of an angle on one of the other teams. But ultimately, they're not really doing anything too crazy. Just quite happy to sit here while the zone is in their favor. Obviously trying to recover a little bit from that previous match where the zone was just ruthless. So they'll take what they can get here. They'll just sit happily for this one. Just wait for that zone to shift up, which of course it will be doing pretty soon, as that blue zone is making its way up there. Teams just pushing their way up the coast, of course, is Akatsuki. The rest of the teams up towards that mainland, also pushing in from the east, making their way up in there. Actually, Akatsuki are going to be tickled by that play zone. They're actually going to be caught out a little bit there, not able to heal up because they had to waste all their meds in that fight with Exist. So they're in a little bit of a scary situation there.
But one thing that's you're talking about crazy. So one thing that I'm seeing now is that the players from Exist rotated back into the blue zone, back over towards the Nova crates, and they're still there. All the other teams are making their way towards zone. Existence are still they've gone deeper into that blue zone. You can't see them on the map because that section that they're in is of course all the way over towards the Nova crates. There we go, Mr. Z2 getting claimed by the blue zone. So it's going to be interesting to see what's going to happen. Will Existence, what are they going to do? Because that's really strange.
That is very strange. I will agree with you on that one. That is very strange. I don't think we've seen that much before. Exist are actually jumping into the cars at the moment, but they're very low on HP. I'm not 100% sure what the decision was there to stay in that blue zone. I'm not 100% on that one. Maybe we'll get the chance to ask them one day why they made that decision, but it is what it is. They're going to be there, going to be taking quite a bit of damage as they try and rush up as quickly as possible with those vehicles to try and make it in, and every single one of them in that vehicle trying to just push up into the zone. And I think they might be done here. Arrow looks like he's going to go out to the zone unless he can just really heal himself up big time here. These teams taking a lot of damage from the blue zone. They're going to waste a lot of meds off of the back of that decision to stay in the blue zone.
Well, I mean, we'll see how this unfolds. But in the meantime, we see the players now slowly but surely starting to make their way across, heading up further in towards that zone. We see the players there from the Exile and Alex G getting very, very close in the zone now. And of course, also we've got one of the players there from Esports right there, smack dab in the center. Mr. Beast there, of course, from the Moz team, still alive, just staying in that little compound. And CR7, as you can see, all up ahead. And there we have it. The team's now slowly but surely making their rotations up. 6-9 heading off of the military island, trying to get back onto that mainland. And there might be a few teams on the receiving side there for them.
Yeah, that certainly is true. Even if the Exist team can make it out of that blue zone, which it looks like they might, they will have quite an interesting welcoming party there, because a couple of teams have already crossed that bridge there, and it looks like 6-9 actually not really going to do any camping. They just want to get into the zone, which is a decent decision. Frenzy is there now crossing the bridge as well, but a lot of the teams now making their way in are sort of centralized towards the southern portion. And that means there's a lot of, a big party, to say the least, of these teams now moving up there. They're going to have quite an interesting time if they do decide to rotate into that position. Otherwise, the best sort of decision they could make really is moving up towards maybe the east or the west, trying to get into one of those unoccupied areas. But of course, that's something that only we can really know for 100%. These teams will not have all the information that we do. So yeah, it's going to be an interesting one to see how they get up into this.
And what's interesting to note now is the players there from God Squad, they're rolling up in the direction of the bridge, where we've got the players from Existence now just coming in towards zone, in that same kind of region there. And of course, just up ahead of them, we see the players there from Active Gaming. And of course, LXG now on the prowl as well, making their way around 6-9, not too far away, as you can see just off in the distance there. So we're waiting to see where these teams are going to go to. And what's interesting to note also is that Endgame has not really moved at all from their position over in Georgia Pool.
Yeah. I think maybe that decision just comes off the back of like, okay, the zone is sitting quite happily for us. We don't need to move, and we don't want to take fights. Like right now, we don't want to even risk it. We don't want to bother, because we've seen in the previous map, we've seen how nasty it can be when you just RNG everything. So we'd rather take the guaranteed points, which is of course placement points, if we can do that. So if you're happy with the equipment that you have, if you're happy with where you're at, and you feel like taking the route of kills is a little bit too risky, then staying where you are is actually a pretty good strat, as long as the zone is, accommodating you. So they actually have made a decent decision in the fact that they haven't really done anything other than just sit there. So they've basically secured themselves a good couple of positions without doing anything. So they haven't wasted energy, they haven't wasted meds or ammo, and they've still got everything going for them at this point. So and the fact that the zone has shifted again in their favor means they don't have to move once again. They're in the north, which means no teams are close by. So the decision to just sit here is actually going to benefit them quite heavily if they can continue continue to exist here, because all the teams are in the south and they're all fighting one another, and you could potentially find yourself in the final zone with a couple of teams remaining. And I mean, with all your meds, with all your ammo, with everything, your armor 100%, everything's great. You have a much better chance at surviving in there. So it's actually a pretty smart tactical decision that they've made here, and the zone obviously shifting in their favor is pretty much the only reason that this strat can work.
Yeah, it helps, especially with, you know, like I said, when the zone shifts in your favor. Otherwise, it's a pretty tough one.
Yeah.
So, but we'll see now, because the southern part of the zone is pretty packed, as all the teams are now starting to make their way up, you know, heading back over towards Georgia Fallen Hospital and the surrounding area. You can see the shots, of course, now just flying up. The Exiles putting a few hits in over towards the players there from LXG. There we go. And of course, also we're seeing a few other hits elsewhere on the map as well, as all these teams are now trying to get a spot in that zone. The players, of course, they're from the Outlaws Gaming team, you know, taking a few hits, and they're trying to move in towards that hospital region, where we see the players from Ink Esports also now holding it up. Now, we're also seeing 6ix9ine about to get caught in a bit of a sandwich there. So, yeah, the Exiles all the way down in the south here, waiting to see all the players there from the God Squad now rotate up straight towards them. As well, we might see that happen right about now almost, as the teams are on the approach. And, of course, the players here from Ink Esports, as I mentioned, sitting up there in the hospital region, waiting to see whether Mr. Joker, they will be able to get that shot. LXD getting flung from the vehicle. There we go. They were just sealing the deal for us, making sure that, you know, everything is all legit and such.
Yeah. So we're seeing some interesting play here. The Joker just managing to evade the gunfire from the team below them. OG over there, just trying to put the hits in. The Hawks actually getting fired upon now by the God Squad there, just putting those hits in. And once again, the zone shifting in favor of Endgame, actually all the way up to the north. These teams going to have to once again rotate their way on up. All of the teams in the south have to move up there, and there are quite a few of them. There are 13 teams remaining in this one, 45 players there. You know, not really having to do the crazy stuff from the previous match. Now they've been able to survive a lot longer, but now the hits coming in. Akatsuki getting taken down, raided, and instantly destroyed there. Just moved on up and taken out there. A nice assault.
Yeah, no, that was a pretty good push. Now we're waiting to see what's going to happen, as all the teams are yet again trying to move up. Maybe even the team, of course, here, the one from, you know, the team that we're busy watching here, Ink Esports, in and surrounding the hospital area. Will they be able to capitalize on that? We see them trying to roll up in towards zone. You can see Active Gaming also on the same kind of approach there. We got the Exiles rolling up, and now we're just waiting on that team there, of course, from the YSL mob to make their way in. They caught all the way down in the south. They're one of the last teams to rotate up. And look at that western side of the zone, this region that we've got right here. It is just names all over the place. Wow.
Oh yeah, there's just everyone trying to rotate up in here, everyone once again crowding up. Obviously this time for a different reason. The fact that the zone has been so passive up until this point means that so many more teams are remaining, which means that all of the teams trying to rotate up in here is just going to be, you know, clustering up here. And you can see everyone trying to get into these buildings, everyone just defending it. Adams can just put some hits in, everyone trying to move up into these spots, trying to get themselves a position as the zone shrinks and shrinks and shrinks. And, well, there's so many teams that they have to get knocked out. Somebody has to get sent back to the lobby, because at the end of the day, only one team can get that chicken. So, yeah, everyone's just moving up now, taking the fights, putting the hits in, trying to secure that spot. And, well, yeah, at this point, it's just based on who can, you know, get the successful raids, who can get those hits in, who can survive. That's pretty much the name right now.
Yeah, well, we'll see what's going to happen, as the Renegades over here are just trying to pick off several more shots, as the teams all are now, of course, closing in. So there's a lot of potential. You can see Active Gamers just over towards their southwestern side. 6ix9ine, of course, just up ahead of them. The lone survivor here for Ink Esports. There we go, Mr. Adonis, slowly but surely moving around. A few more hits coming in. You can see some of the players there, of course, now from the YSL mob getting taken down in the kill feed. Active Gaming, Ted Bundy going at it again. We saw some great things from Ted as well in the previous match. Now the shots, of course, flying all over the place. And this western section, as you can see there on the minimap, is absolutely insane. So there are still yet a lot of kills more to come, as these teams try and battle it out for, you know, control of this region. And what's quite interesting to note is that there's so many compounds. So there's so many places that these teams can be hiding in, and and of course which they can fight from. So I think once this blue zone has now shifted up, which would be, well, hopefully momentarily, we'll see where these teams are going to go to, and then of course, whether or not they'll be able to defend those positions. And I'm just hoping for their part that this zone doesn't shift up towards that north.
Yeah, that would be very interesting. That would be very interesting indeed. You can see a couple of teams now making their way up. It actually does shift to the north, but it is in the northeast, which means that half of the zone that remains now is going to be water. The rest of the teams have to make their way up. But this is actually a good spot for endgame once again. They're going to be setting themselves up in a really, really good position here. All of the other teams are going to once again have to fight it out in order to get those rotates in. So the hits now coming through, everyone trying to put them in as they try and secure their spot to rotate up into that zone. 6ix9ine making their way up now. Akatsuki making their way up as well. Exist down here as well. Everyone down here in towards the west and the south, of course, trying to make their way up. And once again, this zone is not only tiny, but half of it's also water, which means that there's even less space for all the teams to make it in.
Yeah, and I mean, this is the part where you want to see those teams recapitalizing on what they've got. And we're seeing the shots, of course, flying up in all directions as the teams now all try and make their push up in towards zone. The blue zone, of course, now closing in slowly but surely, and shots now just ringing it up all over the place. You can see the shots just there in the kill feed. The Outlaws Gaming putting a few hits in towards the Exiles. The Active Gaming also getting hit in the process. We're already sitting with 3 teams in zone, being Empire. Oh, there we go, as well as Endgame. And of course, there we go. 2 of those players from the Exiles getting taken out. So the Outlaw Gaming team doing quite a bit of damage there, also putting a few hits into the players, of course, there from Active Gaming. As you can see now, the kill feed is still going absolutely insane as the players are now getting thinned out one by one. Well, partially because of the blue zone, and then, of course, of the players that we've got sitting on that side. Oh, and just look at this section right here where we've got the players there from the Renegades, the African Renegades, and, of course, the players from 6ix9ine. All of them slowly but surely trying to make that push in. We've got the Outlaws Gaming team also moving in from that southern direction. I think this is going to be a really, really packed zone. And as you mentioned, half of it is water. So, and there's a hill in there as well. So, really limited options as to where you can rotate up to and which way you can kind of approach this. And you can see the players there from Outlaw Gaming just getting hit as they are now also trying to get up in towards that zone.
Yeah, so it's very, very difficult to be in this one right now. 6ix9ine are going to have to move up on the Renegades there to try and push their way into zone or try and secure themselves a spot, potentially wipe them out. You can see the fight right here, just the Grens flying back and forth to try and knock these players out. BTS actually going to take a dive straight off the side of the mountain. He's going to be plummeting into that water. Not a great start to that one. Reborn going to be putting the hits in, trying to just knock out. And it's actually the play zone going to finish that one out for him as that blue zone now makes its way in. The new zone, having dropped all the way towards the northeast once again, going to force these players to move up. 6ix9ine has to move up on the Renegades here. They don't have a choice. They have to move their way up to try and get into that zone. And, either the Renegades are going to be able to keep them out of this one, or they're going to be able to take them out and move up. In any case, the players that are already there inside the zone, of course, Endgame in a nice position there. LXG moving up on them to try and claim their spot. Exiles up there as well. OG up here as well. Everyone just trying to continue to fight for the spots. We have 7 teams. We've got 18 players left here. And, here comes 6ix9ine to try and push their way in. The shots now ringing out.
Yeah, well, there we go. I'm glad to see that 6ix9ine eventually decided to make that push, to get that rotation going and try and move up in towards this section of the map, because if they took too long, the Renegades might have kept them on the outside there. But now they've got quite some ground to cover. Fortunately, the zone hasn't really started shifting in just yet. There's still some time for them to make it in. I mean, the zone is on the move, but it's not going at full speed just yet. You can see Endgame, the players there from the Outlaw Gaming team, as well as the Exiles. All 4 of those teams now just trying to cram in towards the zone. And up comes the players here from 6ix9ine, moving up. First hit going in. They are pretty much down to their last 2. It's Mr. Reborn and Xerox. Those being the last hopefuls left. Up comes the Gren. Oh, will they get it? Oh, 1 down, 1 to go. Come on. Man, this is super tough. What a gatekeep that is, though. Just capitalizing on that position on the edge of the zone as the teams are trying to move in. But of course, now they also need to be on the lookout for the teams moving up from that eastern side.
Yeah, so 6ix9ine having a bit of issues getting in there, just getting, it was gatekeep after gatekeep, really. Xerox now, of course, that last remaining player, just moving around the coast, hoping to get in towards that shoreline, which does form a part of the zone, and potentially stay alive behind these rocks here while the rest of the players fight it out. Could be a good strategy for 6ix9ine to get those placement points in. Of course, Exile's knocking out the last remaining player there, or the one that was downed at least. Of course, leaving Xerox all alone. And now Outlaw's going to be taking some hits from Endgame, who have managed to stay alive with a nice, fat squad full of players, plenty of util to use, plenty of healing, all that good stuff. And so they're pretty much sitting quite happily in this one. Endgame very, very strong. And looking to try and win this one out, get those placement points and all that fun stuff. So we'll see if Outlaws or the Exiles can maybe challenge them here.
Well, Ayad now, of course, pushing up right in towards the squad here. Up he comes, gets that hit, and sends them off. Well done. There we go. So beautiful push there by Endgame. So we are sitting on our last 3 teams. That, of course, being 6ix9ine, Endgame, and, of course, the Exiles. So everyone are trying to move up. Oh, there we go. So the Exiles finishing off 6ix9ine. So now it is Exiles going up against the Endgame.
Yeah, it's just one player. It's evacs against 4, and this is the power that Endgame have really utilized for themselves. They managed to just sit there, and they sat pretty happy. They managed to capitalize on some kills now here in the final zone. They've basically set themselves up for success from the beginning. We Exiles, they have 2 players left, right? 2v4, not a great spot to be in. And really at this point, Endgame just need to close that distance. The zone really working in their favor. They made sure to capitalize off of that, and now they just have to cross that finish line, really.
Yeah, well, we'll see how this unfolds. It could go either way. There we go. Quick knock once again. CR7 getting that hit in on evacs. Now everything is riding on Panda. Of course, a lot of smokes all over the place. Will they be able to get it? Shots flying in, and Ayad says no. Lobby it is, and off they go. Wow, Endgame finishing off their game. They're coming in with a very nice 9 kills. Of course, got the Exiles finishing their play off there with 13 kills in second place. 6ix9ine finishing off with 4 kills in third place. The Outlaws Gaming team in fourth place with 6 kills. LXG in fifth place, going back empty-handed. So, yeah, it has been a pretty tough one,
Yeah, definitely.
Just these last few zones.
It was very interesting. It was very interesting. This is probably one of the best examples that I've seen for quite some time of a good, a well executed and a very lucky, I would say, maybe even passive strats, right? Like we talk a lot about aggression and how aggression can change the game, and the reason for that is obviously because of the fact that the game is often very difficult to determine. It's difficult to exactly figure out what's going to happen, and so the best way to control all the elements of things happening across the map is to be active and do things and be aggressive, take out teams, get kills. That's the most consistent way to sort things out. But the other way to do things, if things work out the way you want them to, like with Endgame here, is you can actually just sit there and do nothing. Because if the zone falls on top of you, like it did for Endgame, like 3 or 4 times in a row, pretty basically from the beginning of the game all the way to the end, they basically stayed in the same spot the whole time. And that was because they saw the zone land there and they're like, all right, we don't have to move here. We're all kitted out. We have our equipment. Everything's going for us. We don't actually need to do anything now. Let's wait for the next zone. They waited for the next zone and it just happened to fall on top of them. And they're like, all right, cool. We'll just stay here again. And they stayed there and they stayed there and they were able to just stay there until the final few zones. They moved up and they were in the best position because they had all their players remaining. They had all the util. Everything was there for them, all the bullets, all the meds. And when it came down to it, they were able to have that man advantage and they were just able to put the hits in. And they secured themselves that chicken. They got the kills in as well. So a very, very well played round from beginning to end.
Yeah, well, there we go. So I think on that one, let's jump into into the break while we wait for our last match for the day to get underway. So yeah, we'll be back with round 3. What's up, guys? Welcome back. All right. Yeah, well, hoodie time, whatever it's called. Yeah, so we're getting into our third and final round for today. So this is going to be a very, very interesting one. Yeah, so Benji, are you ready for this?
Yeah, we're just going to jump up into those standings and see where all the teams are sitting at the moment. You can see, of course, Endgame sitting there in number one, with 29 points. After that, they got a nice, decent amount of kills. They got, of course, those placement points from the Chicken. Exiles sitting in second place there with 28 points. We've got 6ix9ine in third place with 16. We've got the Outlaws Gaming there with 16 points in fourth. In fifth, we've got the African Renegades with 12 points. In sixth place, we've got Akatsuki in sixth place with 10 points. LXG in seventh with 9. Active Gamers in eighth with 8. Ink Esports in ninth with 7. And, of course, Existence as well with 7 there in 10th place. So, not an unexpected set of results there. We definitely, have it... As we saw it, basically we saw Endgame there manage to really just make the best possible decision with the zones that they had. They didn't really have to do anything, and they didn't until the final few zones where they managed to put the hits in, they got the kills, and just bolster up their points. The rest of the teams, they made a good job of doing what they had to when it comes to rotating. A lot of them had to rotate in from the south a number of times, getting those hits in there. And so I guess we're just going to jump in here from the standing straight into the game that we've got here, the third and final game, I suppose, to see how these teams do.
Yeah, and the flight path, of course, there, as you can see, taking us from that eastern side, just east of Yasnaya, and heading over right across Georgia Ball there, the southern part of George. So the teams have quite a few options up in the north here. The flight path traveling all the way across that section there. So we'll see. Maybe we'll see a few teams heading down towards the south. That, of course, all depends on where the zone is going to take the teams and which way around it's going to swing it. So, we're waiting to see what is going to happen with that.
Yeah, pretty much like the big determining factor, the biggest determining factor of this entire game is that zone, being able to decide how to approach it once you've landed on that map, because the flight path can be deceiving, according to where the zone drops. So right now the team's just setting themselves up, and there we go. The zone heading in towards the north is going to mean that the teams are relatively in a good position. None of them decided to go very much to the south, and I think that was a good decision there. But we've already got a couple of teams now fighting it out here and just trying to get that early action on, just trying to knock one another out. We've got a couple of players there in Pachinki, a couple in Rozok, some in Yasnaya as well. Of course, we've got OG just putting the hits on there. Over in Lipovka at the moment, we've got a couple of teams in Georgia as well. So we've got some nice early fighting happening. And you can see here, the hits are flying.
Yeah, Master Thirst being the last hope for left. Let's see, will he be able to clutch it off? Up comes Mr. Glitch now trying to move in. Let's see, will they get those hits in on the YSL mob? I mean, loads of shots now just flying in between the players here from the Outlaws Gaming team, and of course the players there from the YSL mob. There we go. Up comes Glitch just to finish it off. Sends them right back into the lobby. So we've got a few teams fairly close together, of course, up in Savernia as well, as you mentioned there. We've got 3 teams up in that section. We've got Active Gaming, the players from Empire, as well as the players there from LXG. So 3 teams up in Savernia. We've got 2 teams sitting in that Pachinki area, that being the players there from Hawk and, of course, the Exiles. You can see Hawk now just making their way around, trying to find a few loot thingies as they make their way through the compounds here. And hopefully, we might see them bump into the players there from the Exiles just up ahead.
Yeah, so they're looking pretty close together there. Of course, like I said, a couple of teams just sitting around very close to one another in a couple of places across the map. And so obviously the teams just want to loot themselves up before they do anything nuts. Get those hits in only after you're set up. You don't want to do anything too crazy too early on, otherwise you're going to maybe put yourself at a disadvantage. So everyone's just fine for the moment. Of course, the zone being very, very high up north is going to mean that the teams are pretty okay at the moment. Saverny is not such a bad spot to be in, and neither is Rozok. So those 2 spots are looking pretty much A-okay. And, the rest of the teams that are sort of outlying in those areas are only going to really start to feel the pressure once that zone starts making its way in. So for the moment, they're just going to be where they are.
Yeah, well, let's see how this goes. I mean, the players here now really trying to find those angles. You can see those mollies, of course, now being flung as well. So we're waiting to see what's going to happen. We're seeing a few teams, really getting very, very close and quite cozy. We still have 2 teams up in Severny, 2 teams up in North George. That, of course, being the players from Endgame as well as the team there from Akatsuki.
Yeah.
Yay, I made it. We got 6-9 and Untold up in Yasnaya. So, yeah, there's still some potential on this map, for some engagements. So we're waiting to see what's going to happen. You can see Mars now, of course, right here, right next to the Exiles there. So we're waiting to see what's going to happen. Will we see any shots? Cooking that gren up, trying to send it across. He does so, but no one to receive it on the opposite end.
Yeah, Exiles moving a little bit too quickly to be hit by that one, although Mars is in a decent position to get some hits in if he can manage to find the angle in there and get a little bit of a look at the players, because the position of the players is obviously unknown at this point to him, so he will have to spot them out now, and actually Panda could get the information that's needed there on Mars, definitely spotting him out now. The shot's trying to go in there, trying to land Mars under some heavy pressure at the moment, some heavy fire going his way. See if he can manage to survive this one. Doors being shattered as he's flying in to try and knock him out. Trying to send him back. Hawk trying to take the fight against Exiles here. There come the shots. Panda hitting those in. Mars getting taken down, and now the Exiles have that tempo. They can push up on it towards the place from Hawk.
Yeah, well, let's see if they can continue the roll, as there's now just 2 players left there from Hawk. The Exiles, of course, now on the prowl, trying to get some more hits in. Let's see, will they be able to get it in? Semsha now just there, quickly taking a few hits, trying to heal up as best they can. Up comes the Exiles, about to push in. Down goes Panda. Fireboy landing a beautiful hit. Up comes Insidious. Oh, sends him off. 1 more to go. Let's see, will Fireboy be able to clutch this? Will he make it? Or will he get sent into that lobby? Up they come now. So this is the time to show what you've got. Nope. And lobby it is.
Yeah, that was a difficult position to be in once the whole team had been steamrolled. As soon as that first hit came in, the Exiles knew they had the tempo. They pushed it up. They didn't relent, and they were rewarded with the wipe. So nice and well played from them. They're going to keep the spot down there in Pachinki nice and clear for them. The rest of the map, though, still going a little bit haywire. Of course, Akatsuki going to be putting the hits in towards endgame there up in North George. Some shots now flying there. In the meantime here, of course, you can see the players there from Empire just up here in Severny, of course, with the players from the Active Gaming there just across the way, just with the crosshairs trained towards one another now. Of course, Active, they know exactly where the other players are, so they've got their crosshairs trained, but everything just silent for the moment. It is going to be Endgame who are rolling up here to the members from Akatsuki to try and put the hits in. So these teams now just trying to seek out where each other is or where the players are, and maybe find them out, put the hits in, and see what happens.
Oh. Yeah, well, we'll see how this goes, because, I mean, at the moment, Endgame is pretty much leading with 11 points. They 11 points ahead of Empire. Endgame sitting on 49 points. We've got Empire sitting on 38. So, if Endgame gets taken out here, it could really open up that potential in the leaderboard. And we might see, a few teams, of course, now stepping up to the plate. So Empire, they've got some ground to cover. Then, of course, also the Exiles sitting in 3rd place with 33 points. So, there's 16 points to still try and make it up. So we'll see how it goes. It's either 11 or 16, it's between those teams to see who's going to get up into that chicken position.
Yeah, and there goes Nemesis. He's going to push into Obito, take him down. Meanwhile, CR7 gets taken down as Akatsuki trying to fire back into this one. Zetsu going to be putting in the head. Frenzy going to get taken down as well. Endgame trying to come out on top here in this fight. Meanwhile, 6ix9ine also taking the fight against UNT is going to come out on top there. So 6ix9ine going to be winning that one out. And, you can see now on your screen, Zetsu is going to be the one to have a look and see if you can find the last remaining players from Endgame there, of course. There are only 2 of them remaining. It is, of course, Io and Nemesis. We'll see if those hits can indeed come in. It is only Zetsu, of course, remaining to put the hits in, but Io's very low on HP. Zetsu could potentially do this. There's the knock. He only has to get 1 more here to win this out against Endgame. He's rotating around from the back. Could potentially catch them out here.
Well, yeah, Ayad is already down, and it's, yeah, like I said, there's one more left to go. Nemesis being that last one. So let's see, it is now Nemesis going up against Zetsu. So yeah, this is definitely a tough one. You know, Zetsu could potentially do quite a bit of damage, and we've got Ayad now just quickly getting raised up. And it's interesting to see the strats that the players use at this point. You know, they're not too overly aggressive. But also at the same time giving their opponents some time to get healed up and shots coming in. Oh, beautiful play by Zetsu.
HP. 1 HP, but they just line up for him and he's able to take them down. Wow. That was super close. But yeah, well played to Zetsu there.
Yeah, well, we've got Endgame leaving the lobby there with 3 kills to their name. So yeah, they might now potentially be sitting on 52 points so far. You know, yeah. I think they went out in 12th place. You know, so well, from what I can figure out, they should be sitting on around about, you know, a minimum of 52 points. So this is where the players there from Empire, the ones that we've got on screen here, really need to put up quite the performance. They don't have any kills to their name just yet. You got the players, of course, from Active Gaming right there with them. So there's some, you know, they could potentially get a few hits in, you know, get those scores moving. And of course, then also the other team that we're looking at, you know, for placement-wise would be the players from, you know, Exiles.
Yeah.
So, you know, if they, yeah, it's going to come down to who's going to get the most kills and the best placement.
Yeah. So Empire have got a lot of work to do if they want to put themselves in that pole position. Of course, they decided to move out away from the players from Active Gaming. Their Rolex now rolling up towards Alex G. Might just want to think twice about that one. Rotating down here, you can see nothing too crazy happening at the moment. Mostly just the players rotating in from the western side, now coming up in towards the zone. Of course, the Exiles moving up. There's God as well as UNK. We've got even the players, the Renegades there. We've got the other God squad, and then I cannot see what team that is there. But yeah, we've got a couple of teams coming in from the west there. They're going to be moving their way up into zone, could potentially meet one another as they move in, or could just take up that empty space there, maybe just settle in for a moment. Obviously, that blue zone making its way in, so they just want to set themselves into that zone before the next one drops, so that they can at least start to plan where they want to go without having to fight. Because as we know, if you're fighting when the zone gets chosen and it starts to move, you know, it can actually block you up for quite some time, and you might just end up with that zone right on your heels as you try and rotate up, which is not the greatest spot to be in. So you want to settle in and plan before, you know, you really get into those fights.
Yeah, 100%. And, you know, one of the other teams also that I think we should be keeping an eye on is also, of course, in the African Renegades. You know, they are sitting in 4th place with 30 points. So, you know, I think it's pretty much that, you know, the teams sitting 2nd, 3rd, and 4th place that could really, you know, put a bit of a threat there to the players from Endgame that we've got sitting in pole position. So Endgame, of course, now getting sent back. So it's kind of open season for those 3 teams now to make a bit of a difference. Empire, as you can see, out in the open there. No one really nearby just yet. You know, we got the players there from, oh, look at that zone shift.
That zone is disgusting.
That's
literally 50% water. That is like no jokes, 50% water.
Yeah.
That's so basically the zone has just shifted twice, essentially, in one move. It's shifted twice because the zone is half as small as it should be right now, which means less space for the teams to get in. We have 11 of them, 39 players on the board. All of them have to move up here towards the coast and squeeze into the spot. So this is going to be really, really interesting.
Yeah, well, we're going to see how this is going to end, though, because, I mean, the teams are going to have to fight it out and try and get those points. And the shots, of course, not flying up right over towards the Renegades. The players there from Active Gaming trying to get those hits in, well, Active Gamers, rather, trying to get those hits in. You can see the Exiles now getting shot at as the players, of course, they're from the God Squad now trying to put those hits in. And also, as you can see just off in the distance there, the team now also rolling up, trying to find that angle. Oh, look at that zone, though. I mean, these teams are coming in, and there's only so much space. 11 teams, 39 players. Wow, this is going to be a super, super tough back zone.
Yeah. Yeah, so the zone is about a kilometer across, I'd say. So there's at least a little bit of space, but it's not much, and the players are really going to have to fight for this spot in here, and you can already see 6ix9ine putting in the hits as the OG are start to roll up as well. God, are going to get hit really hard by 6ix9ine. They're going to be wiped straight off the board there. Now Easy and the rest of the crew rolling up as well. And in the meanwhile, all the teams in the south are going to be rolling up here. Of course, on your screen is of course, the Exiles moving up there, towards Empire. And it is, of course, Empire who need to put those hits into the line and get those points to move themselves up the ladder. Now he's actually the hits in to try and take out the players who are getting up here.
Oh, there we go. Panda getting it with a quick vehicle explosion. So well done, well played. Quick explosion and Thurston, of course, Empire is still right here, right next to them. And the players from LXG also just off in the distance. So we're going to see how this is going to go down. 6ix9ine putting in quite a few hits there. Adonis getting knocked and Thurston sent right back into the lobby. So the players there from the African Renegades putting in, a great deal of work though.
Yeah, like you said, they do need to do that, put themselves up there, get some more points and move up that leaderboard. They are sitting, I think you said, in 4th. And now the shots ringing out. Monster going to be Monster going to be putting those ones in, trying to just get himself some kills. But that zone is now moving in, super close to being chosen once again. These teams now setting themselves up of Exiles and Empire very close to one another. But this new zone is going to land right slap bang in the middle. It means that for the moment, Empire and Exiles are going to be okay. The rest of the teams need to make their way on up. You can see a couple of them towards the northeast and down to the southwest going to have to make their way in. And it's going to be a difficult position here because a lot of teams have their crosses trained towards the other teams.
Yeah, and we can see those hits now coming in. Hero getting knocked out. So they're waiting to see what Empire's going to do. Are they going to try and maybe claim a few players in the process, because there's no real need for either of these teams to really rotate up. And of course, they're now just going to try and land those hits in to just try and push that kill count up as much as they can. Oh, there we go. Panda sending a quick molly over towards Rolex. Well, doesn't make it all the way across and falls a little bit short there. We got some more shots, of course, now flying back and forth. Panda turning his attention over towards the players there from the Renegades as they now start rolling up in towards zone. So we now just need to see who's going to pull off one. LXG still sitting on that coast just over towards the north of this position. They haven't really moved much. You can just see them looking around every now and again, just hiding behind the vehicles there, just camping it out, trying to survive for as long as they possibly can.
Yeah, that's pretty much what they have to do here. Now the teams are making their way in, all of them setting themselves up there right in along the perimeter here. If they push in, they might just expose themselves. So staying along the perimeter is probably the best decision at this point to try and make something happen. You can see Empire now trying to get a little bit of an angle in on there, trying to get something happening. They know that they're getting assaulted from both sides, though. They have to deal with active gamers first. Bo is going to be the one to try and take the fight. There come the first few hits. He's going to put them in.
And this, of course, now opens them up. You can see the Exiles now getting ready to rotate up as well. And you got Panda and Insidious now rolling up. Bry goes down. We got Trip. Rolex getting knocked out in the process. Not before getting that knock in towards Panda. So, I mean, it does change things up a bit. And now the Exiles are just rushing in. Will they get these last few hits in on the Empire team? As they now try to move in. You can see two of the players, of course, there from the active gamers out in the water. So there we go. Exiles just moving around. Are they going to land those shots? Will they find the players? Of course, that being the first question. Down goes Mr. Bry.
Yeah, it was a very difficult spot for these teams to be in, specifically Empire. They were sandwiched between the Exiles and the active gamers, and they had to make a choice to deal with one of the two teams. And that's such a hard decision to make, but they eventually made it to take on the active gamers. Now Exiles moving up to finish them off. Can Empire hold out for as long as they need to at the moment? Getting assaulted from all sides. The building is surrounded. Can they get the hits in? It's just two players. Can they make it happen? Bo trying to do the work, but it's not going to happen. They're just going to get taken down, and Exiles going to finish the job there. And as I was saying, that is a difficult spot to be in because Empire had to take one of the two fights. They found the active gamers first, so they took that one. But as soon as they did that, it opened them up to the Exiles, and the Exiles just absolutely capitalizing on that one. So yeah, a tight, tough spot, and well played to the Exiles for capitalizing on what they saw.
Yeah, well, I mean, we are down to 8 teams now. You can see the players, of course, here from the God Squad just putting those shots in, being able to get a few of them in. And, of course, that the active players now, or active gamers rather, out here in the water, just chilling out there, that being crazy and genocide. So they just having a bit of a chill. You can see LXG, of course, now rolling up in towards zone 6-9, also rolling up. You've got Mr. Zetsu also on the way, on the approach, trying to get into that zone, trying to get the spot. And, of course, also the Renegades making their way up in towards zone as well.
Yeah, they're going to have to move up in there towards that zone. A couple of the teams making their way in. Deadliest, actually, although already sitting in the middle of that one, could potentially be under a little bit of threat as these teams start to move in. A couple of them just making their way in there. Of course, the Renegades going to be the ones to make their way in next. 6-9 going to be making their way up north. Renegades now putting those hits in. There goes Deadliest. He's not going to survive for very much longer. His position not so great, but that puts the Renegades in a pretty decent spot up here on top of the hill to get some shots in, but Exiles as well, situating themselves on the top of the hill just across is going to put some decent fire in towards the Renegades.
Yeah, and here they come rushing in. There we go. Some shots not coming in. The players there from Renegades getting hit by the team from the God Squad there. So, yeah, that is a pretty tough one, and everyone are just converging on to that southern part. As you can see, all the teams moving up. Oh, BTS now in a bit of trouble. Shots flying in, and oh, down goes BTS. So, Renegades getting sent back to the lobby. 6 teams remaining now. We are looking at the players, of course. They're from the God Squad. We are looking at the Exiles. We've got our lone survivor there, Mr. Zetsu. And then, of course, also the players all the way over in that northeastern side being 6-9. You know, just waiting to see what is going to happen. How will this last few zones unfold? The blue zone, of course, also on the approach. You can see LXG just way off in the distance there, close to that shoreline. And active gamers still in the water.
Yeah, so they've used this water as pretty decent cover, but it's not going to last them very long as soon as that's up the game. Otherwise, they're going to get spotted out as well. That's a potential threat. Right now, you can see the shots flying over. Exiles trying to put them in the Zetsu actually going to get taken out in the crossfire, but the God Squad not going to survive either.
Man, what a tough one. 6-9 landing those hits. Well done, well played. 4 teams remaining now. That being the players from the active gamers, LXG, 6-9, and the Exiles.
Yeah, a difficult spot to be sandwiched in between those teams there. Didn't really have much of a choice, but now, of course, we have 4 teams remaining. Genocide going to be the one up there for the active gamers. And, well, he's got a long distance to go, and this might pretty much be the end of him if he gets spotted out there. 6-9, just going looking for him potentially. Of course, LXG going to have to also put some eyes out, potentially take out Genocide. They're very low on HP. Exile's actually in a pretty good spot, having now been able to rotate up immediately into the zone there. Could be setting themselves up for that final battle, that final bit of success that they need to get to cross the finish line and get that chicken. We'll see if LXG or 6-9 will be able to take them out.
Yeah, well, they've got a pretty good angle, as you mentioned here. I mean, they've got this whole region in their favor, and you've got the players there from LXG now trying to move out. Shots coming in. There we go, getting that knock. So, Mr. Desire now is the last one left. I'm just waiting to see what is going to happen. Will they finish this fight off? And, of course, then try and move on to the next one. Oh, Big Grin. Panda getting knocked out in the process. 6-9 sneaking up behind them. So this is a bit of a tough position. I mean, the Exiles now getting sandwiched from both sides.
Yeah, they're going to have to play around this pretty much perfectly now at the moment. Of course, they don't have much to do, so if they can just take out the rest of those players, they can focus on the players that are pushing up from the 6-9ers. But Exile's not putting the hits in. Hero going to fall next. I don't know if they can do this. Exile's looking very, very low.
Yeah, well, everything is riding on Insidious. And of course, now we got Desire there from LXG. The last hope for left. 6-9 also not looking too great, but they have the positional advantage at this point. And Genocide now just sneaking up the side. Now just waiting to see what is going to happen. Will we see those hits now sneaking up? Are the players going to be able to land them? I mean, maybe Genocide might be able to get a few hits in on the 6ix9ine team.
Yeah, could definitely take them from behind without them realizing it as they focus their fire towards Insidious, of course, and maybe that could be the downfall of the team, but maybe they also have the mind to check behind them. We'll see what goes on there. And a drop actually coming in might just attract their attention in that direction. We'll see if 6ix9ine can spot out this threat, because they are looking to take this one. They're very, very close. Of course, it's only Desire who was left for that team. He's going to get taken out immediately, and now it's just Insidious and, of course, Genocide, who can potentially make something happen here against 6ix9ine.
Yeah, Genocide now moving up from behind, while Insidious has now got his attention right there on the players from 6ix9ine. So now he was waiting to see, will he be able to get any hits in? Oh! Down goes Insidious. Now comes the final part. 6ix9ine. Oh, they get that final hit. And I mean, just look at the finish here. We got 6ix9ine coming in there with a chicken dinner, finishing off with 14 kills. Active Gamers finishing off on 2 kills in second place. Then, of course, we got the Exiles coming in, finishing off their play on 15 kills in third place. LXG with 1 kill in fourth. And then, of course, the players there from the God Squad with 5 kills in fifth place.
Yeah, so a very interesting set. Obviously, we have Akatsuki there in sixth. We have Renegades there in seventh place. They've set themselves up there a little bit. Eighth place is, of course, the OG squad. We have Empire in ninth. We've got the other God squad there in 10th. Well, that's God Gaming, I think. And then in 11th place, we have that team there from... Is that...
Why is that? YSL Mob.
Okay, yeah, that one there. Then we've got Endgame there in 12th. Got UNC in 13th place. Then of Hawk coming out in 14th place as well.
I'm joking, that was Ink.
Was that Ink?
11th place is Ink Esports, yeah.
You're trying to bait and switch here.
But there we go, there we have it. And I mean, some great performances there by the teams, and well played, well done. And yeah, some crazy action with those zones though.
Yeah, it has been a very interesting evening when it comes to the zones. You know, the fact that the zone had actually moved up into that point where it was on top of the water means that the zone had effectively shifted twice. So the available space was way smaller than it should have been. The teams had to make their way up. You know, it was really just a matter of being able to try and stay alive, try and leverage the positions. And we saw a little bit of that. And yeah, it was some very tight spots for a lot of the teams. Of course, we saw one of the teams getting sandwiched in from both sides, a very difficult set of decisions to make. I think that was Empire, who got squashed in there between Active and the Exiles. The Exiles obviously taking full control of that situation, coming in, getting that third party, just making it so difficult. Active trying to stay alive for as long as possible, going into the water, even just trying to snake their way in. And of course, at that point, that's exactly what you need to do. So all the tactics just trying to be employed to stay alive and get the hits in. And yeah, ultimately, it's been a very, very entertaining set of matches tonight.
Yeah, no, it definitely was. And, you know, yeah, once again, well done to the teams. You know, as you said, it's been quite entertaining, we've seen some pretty good action, and, you know, looking forward to seeing what we're going to see in the next week. Because next week we're going at it. We're going for week 4. You know, we've got 8 weeks of the Inkosi Super Cup. So, yeah, I mean, I think we're in for quite a bit of a ride with all these teams.
Yeah, all right. So I guess with that said and done, thank you guys so much for joining us. And I guess we'll see you in the next one, hopefully.